Dan O'Toole is in studio. I'm so happy to see him here. Of course, he is the CEO and founder of ARAI, and of course, Neerav Shah, this is it strategy officer?
Strategy officer.
CSO, man.
Yes, sir.
You don't see that every day.
Yes, sir.
Is this so basically? It's like what is that Bill Burr thing about? He says Steve Jobs says he goes, I'm not that impressed with Steve Jobs. He says, hey, he says to his chief strategy officer, hey, I want to make a thing that does this, and then five weeks later, he's up on stage with a black turtleneck. So this is the brains. Guys, I want to talk, our audience is familiar with you. I want to talk about, real quickly, just a snapshot. You're in between flights. Somebody asked you what you guys do. So let's reset that for people who haven't seen you before. But then let's talk about really where this company's going. Because you were just at the Roth Capital Conference. I know you personally. I know that you're a collector of cars. You're a builder of businesses. You don't get into things like this. We're going to change the world of autonomous delivery or autonomous servicing and supply chain without taking on the biggest, most boldest challenge ever. But give us the Reader's Digest version first so we can get these guys cut up and let's see what we're doing.
Yeah, hey, Dan O'Toole, ARAI, thanks for having us, guys.
We know who you are.
Great to see you. Our Mailbox 2.0 in its simplest terms. We pick up where lockers leave off. Anytime you add the element of autonomous delivery and pickup, whether it's a robot, drone, unmanned vehicle, to a safe, secure access point, that's us. All our IP is...
How did you go from being where you were in success in life to saying, it's just almost like, I know, I'm going to start a pager company in 1976, right? I mean, it's like you didn't bite off something small here.
Right, you know, it's going to change the world, right? But this thing just hit me. I was driving back from a trip to Chicago, a business trip. I was coming home and I was kind of daydreaming. And I was driving down a rural Indiana street, because that's where we're from, Indiana. And somebody was flying a drone out of my peripheral. And it caught my eye. I was like, what the hell? Somebody's flying a drone. And I thought, okay, drone delivery, Jeff Bezos had just mentioned that was going to happen. Right. And so I thought, I cut to the end of the line where's everything going to end and start from? The idea of scalability of packages being delivered to the ground or picked up from the ground is a non-starter, not scalable. And I had this epiphany, this idea just took hold of me like nothing ever. I think it was God. And I started thinking about all these different things. If you're going to reinvent the mailbox, what would you do? Notifications.
Okay, that's the tip of the spear. If I was going to reinvent the mailbox, what would I do?
And that's it. So heated and cooled cargo area, notifications, safety, security, UV protection to sterilize. I mean, we have 200 patent claims. I got home, I ran into my office, started unloading all these ideas. I was forgetting them faster than I was thinking of them. And I called my patent attorney right then. I said, hey, John, it's Friday. Monday, I'm coming to you with an abstract. I want to file this utility patent Monday. I don't want to do a patent search. I don't want to do a provisional. I want to jump in with both feet. I know what it's like to be in a race. And there's a kind of an unwritten rule. When one guy has an idea, 10 guys always have that same idea.
Well, what's interesting, what you just said there, and a little infotainment for our audience is that when you say the word utility patent, that is Post-it note. That's microwave popcorn bag. That's Teflon. Versus a design patent, which is nobody can make this pattern on sunglasses other than us. A utility patent is anybody ever that has a sticky thing with adhesion on it has to pay Scotch, whatever their utility patent.
Right.
Your utility side of this thing should not go over anyone's head here. That's one of the biggest things, because your IP, your intellectual property, again, infotainment moment here, is as important as the model. And wouldn't you agree with that, Neerav?
Absolutely, 100%. The first time Dan came in, I was looking for some space to lease from my building.
I was in the warehouse business.
So I was looking for some space. Dan goes, I've got this great idea. Showed me the video. Honestly, I was like skeptical. I was extremely
Well, of course, because it's not like you're saying, I'm going to make a new wristwatch.
My mom you're crazy. I have a mantra there. If you have an idea and your people don't think you're crazy, you're too late, right?
That's a good one.
I think that's right. I agree with that.
Hey, but we beat Amazon by
Absolutely
4 days.
Right? Yeah, I remember that in the first interview. So give us an inside look at your, I'm not going to say board meetings, but at your meetings internally when you guys sit around and take inventory.
Hey, you know what's funny? We just had a C-team meeting last week.
Where you're saying, okay, where do we stand?
No, I went around the room to every one of our guys, Chief Strategy Officer Neerav. I said, Neerav, have we ever had a better facility, more functionality, more ability to manufacture R&D?
Never.
Okay, I went to our chief operating officer. I said, hey, Mark, have we ever had a bigger, better team than we do today? And he said,
Nope.
and then I went to John, our patent attorney. I said, John, have we ever had better IP, more IP than we do today? He said,
Nope.
Because that day we got a new patent. We haven't even announced that yet. That's coming out. And I said to our CFO, Todd, have we ever had more money in the bank than we do right now? And he said,
Nope.
And then I said, guys, has our stock price ever been lower than it is today?
Nope.
And that'll tell you market dynamics versus business model, right?
Right. I used to think the market was a leading indicator. Now I know it's a
It's a trail. Well, I mean, if you go back to Starbucks, when Starbucks was trading at, I think it was $12 a share, and their book value was literally was about as much as about 12 Starbucks stores, and they had 500. You realize that market cap, which is generally thought of as value of a company, which is the amount of outstanding shares times the share price, is not necessarily the real value of a company. I think that's important. Talk about what you learned. I remember, I know that Mike was up at the Roth Capital Conference here in Southern California. You guys were there. What did you learn from investors coming up? I mean, I bet you raised some eyebrows.
You know, we learned that we felt like we were the stars of the show, right?
Yeah.
We're at the intersection of autonomy and AI. And, those are two hot areas you want to be in. We're changing the world. You're going to look back at some point and say, hey, how did we get by without this? I call it like a cell phone moment. Pop culture, you take a picture of your family, everyone's playing with their cell phone, right? We're going to bring great utility and benefits to people that they never had before.
Neerav, what is it? I know you got a couple questions here, but what is the path to liquidity in your mind here and velocity? Because you guys are right there, I'm going to say, 20-yard line. When I met you, you were at the 40-yard line. You guys are moving. It's moving, I think, quicker than I anticipated when we start to. And I think you guys get these leaps and bounds that you don't expect.
But never quick enough, though.
No, of course, because we want it tomorrow, and everybody listening to your story wants it tomorrow also.
That's true.
I think the continued pressure on the labor markets really is what's happening. People are just seeing a shortage of labor. We're seeing that in hospitals. Nurses need to be at nurses stations, not running things around. So I think labor is going to be a big driver for us.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think also the instant gratification.
Yeah, I just want my pizza to arrive hot, so just make sure that's the.
And I don't want my packages to be missing.
Yeah.
I took them.
Go back when you mentioned beating Amazon by 4 days.
Yeah, it kind of goes back. I had an idea one time for a new remote control. Do you know the previous channel button on the remote? You can
Yeah, previous, right.
Yeah,
right.
I like to bet on football games, and back in the old days, you'd watch NBC, CBS,
Sure.
Fox. And I always thought, what if you could put a custom cycle together and hit one button, previous channel, rotate through. So I went to get a patent on that, and Sony beat me by a month on that. So then I had an idea for a.
Keep them coming, man. Because I mean,
I had an idea.
you lost to Sony, but you beat Amazon. That's not a bad thing.
Well, that's it. You learn the lesson, right?
Well, when you beat Amazon, soon there are black helicopters
outside your door
over Arrive AI's headquarters. I mean, do they look at you like friggin' disruptors? Look, I can't believe they beat us by 4 days.
No, I don't think they get mad. They just buy you, right? So,
Okay. All right.
Hopefully, I think they're a show me, don't tell me company.
Gotcha.
And, we're showing right now. And that's, if you look at Ring Camera, what they did, right? They built up to and sold for $1 billion. So, we think that we have a huge, largest market opportunity in the world is what we're doing.
What was your question? Was about safety and about loss and about security?
I mean, it's about packages, making it to the right destination. I've talked about how many times in my complex I look out my window and I see a lost DoorDash driver, lost whatever it is, they're lost.
Right.
Or they drop it off at the wrong place. Or here, they don't arrive, they come when we're closed, even though I have all the hours logged on Amazon's website. So your arrive point gets rid of all of those problems.
We have our own API. We're confirming the credentials, making sure it's the right item by the right shipper to the right arrive point. We're disrupting theft, as you mentioned, but also misshipments. Think about if a ream of paper from Staples showed up here and it was meant for somebody else, that never finds its way to the right person, right? And everyone thinks you just call Amazon or Staples and you get a free replacement. There's a cost built into every purchase to cover all those things.
Did you see? Our audience is just watching your docking station where your box is there and your unmanned street drone walks up and opens up the door and pops it up. You guys secured $40 million in capital in the beginning.
We did.
And I know that capital markets are opening up, which is excellent. News is, if I were talking to you as a biotech company, okay, and I knew you had another 3 years to go before you filed your NDA, what are the chances you got to raise another 40 million? Because you know the problem with most businesses. The minute you can become successful is the minute you got to raise more money because now you got to keep up with the orders, right? How are you guys feeling with runway?
You know what? We're in great position. What the story I just told a minute ago, I said to our CFO, have we ever had more money in the bank? And he said no. But you know, I look at it like if you're developing and iterating, you have to have your foot all the way down on the accelerator. If you let up for 1 second and reapply, you never get back to where you were. Yeah. We can't let up. In the last 5 months, we went from 6 employees to 46.
Wow.
We moved to a new facility that can do all the great things we need to do. The trajectory of what we're doing is huge. You know, prior to going public, we were a crowd-funded company. We went public with 5,000 retail investors, co-owners. We call ourselves a We the People story. Sure. We got this huge group of people that we love that have insights and thoughts about what we do every day. They all have my phone number. I talk to them regularly. Really proud of that.
Can we, before I let you out of here today, can we talk about the Dan Show?
Yes. Podcast.
So the Dan Show is a podcast that Dan O'Toole, CEO and founder of a publicly traded company, goes out and talks plainly. You know, I mean, we're popular over the last 30 years, starting on radio, and 20 years on TV because, look, if you ask me if this dress makes you look fat, I'm going to say no, your face makes you look fat. We talk very straightforward and plainly. You do too to your shareholders.
Yeah, man.
But so the Dan Show, and we're helping with the distribution, and we're hoping that you'll start producing it here just because I'd love to see it in studio more. But where are we now? Where can people find it?
YouTube, you see it visually, and then you can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, all sorts of places.
So everywhere is
basically anywhere that you.
If you want to hear what it sounds like to be the inside of a CEO of a public company, go to the Dan Show.
Yep.
And we'll put the link up here.
One thing I want to say is anybody can say vanity things. Hey, we had great earnings, whatever it is. We want to give you the bad before the good.
Well, it's the inside poop.
I want you to hear it from me.
It's the inside story of what's going on in a publicly traded company, in so much of what you can actually talk about, right?
That's right.
Hey,
that's right.
I have to bring up some personal life stuff, just because you and I have an affinity for a couple of things.
Yeah, man.
Talk about your car collection, real quick.
I love cars. I've been collecting cars
This is a hobby.
35 years. Yeah, it's a hobby. I'm a domestic muscle car guy, not an import guy.
He has a showroom of 75 cars. Wow. Everything from, do you remember the Mongoose all the way down to, I'm not sure you have a Gremlin, but I'm going to say same era.
I don't have a Gremlin.
But
I have had a Gremlin.
GTO, Super Smart.
Split window.
Remember the lime green? Was it the Roadrunner?
Superbird.
Superbird,
That's the inspiration of our company.
What's your
green?
What's your pride and joy of the collection?
That would be my wife.
Yeah.
Oh, good answer.
Well, no,
good
and you'll see here on the screen shortly here. But the logo on the side, basically, what does the logo say?
The Dan and Stacey O'Toole.
Dan and Stacey O'Toole collection.
American Muscle.
And you're going to see if I have anything to do
every
with
time we get a car, she gets a car.
Oh, okay.
No, this guy decided just to hire a couple guys before he knew us.
Yeah.
To create a television series. I'm pretty sure you're going to see it on a streaming service here.
I'd love it.
Before Neerav, I'll let you have the last say here. What are you looking forward to most over here for the rest of the year? I mean, believe it or not, second quarter's coming up.
So we've got some really big implementations coming up, manufacturing, healthcare. Really excited to get in there and get our hands dirty.
M&A maybe.
Some M&A.
By the way, you're also a director, not just chief.
That's right.
So can I ask you just real quick, because I know we're going to go long here a minute, but as a director of a publicly traded company, you look at it, and I think people need to understand that the CEO serves at the pleasure, the C level serves at the pleasure of the board of directors, who serves at the pleasure of the shareholders.
Absolutely.
Your number one idea is to create shareholder value and keep things on. Is it, with your vast history in business and success, does this feel like something different's going on? Does this feel like an Uber's going on? And I'm not talking about stock or anything like that, but this feels to me like an Uber or a VHS. Or something. Remember the CD-ROM came out.
A disruptor.
Or Velcro.
Right.
Does this feel like this as much to you as it does us on the outside?
Absolutely. The energy in the company and the board meetings, just all over, is just one of excitement.
Okay, well, go Pacers and go Padres. Guys, thanks again. Love it.
Dan O'Toole, Neerav Shah, ARAI AI, ticker symbol is ARAI. Again, big things are going to be coming with these guys and this company.